We're going to have a look at Manchester City's 3-2-2-4 deep build-up, their switches of play, and their 4-2-4 press. We're going to have a look at Liverpool's 2-4 deep build-up with a box midfield, Salah's counter-attacking position, and their varying pressing shapes. Before we get into it, I'm getting really close to 600 subscribers. If you enjoy the videos, please give the video a thumbs up. Maybe share it on social media or subscribe. It goes a really long way. And with that, let's get into it. Starting here in the 12th minute, we've got Liverpool building up in a 2-4 shape against Manchester City's 4-2-4 pressing shape. I quite liked this scenario because it showed the box midfield, Cody Gakpo and Elliott between the lines, and the other two forwards on the shoulder of the Manchester City defence. Here the box midfield works well, allowing Gakpo to combine with Henderson and get the ball out into Robertson, who was a willing runner in this left-hand side, which allowed Jota to be able to tuck inside. Liverpool did this on a number of occasions, either on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side, but then it would allow, especially when they did it on the right-hand side, Robertson to be able to bomb up the left-hand side and be able to whip a ball in. On this occasion, they're able to get the ball up into that left-hand space with Henderson looking to support, and eventually, despite the combinations in that left-hand side and Harvey Elliott having floated to that side, Manchester City's 4-4-2 defensive shape is able to compress the space on that right-hand side enough that Liverpool are forced back, with Van Dijk looking to try and switch to the right-hand side. I think it's nice to just mention how important switches of play were for Manchester City, actually. And on this occasion, the switch goes between Trent and Salah, allowing Ake to easily regain possession and get them to set back up into their 3-2 shape, with John Stones playing as the right-sided centre midfielder. So there was a huge dilemma for Liverpool against this 3-2-2-3 shape, where Gundogan and De Bruyne typically played in the hole, although De Bruyne could drop into a right-back position if needed. The dilemma for Liverpool in their various pressing shapes, so they try this 4-2-4, they tried a 4-2-3-1 with Salah leading the line and Gakpo as the CAM trying to press Stones and Rodri. They tried a 3-2-3-2 with Alexander-Arnold pushing higher up on this right-hand side. But the problem comes with whoever the centre-forward was for Liverpool being just constantly overloaded by the deeper lying defenders, and then the forwards in behind that front two. So if Henderson pushes up to join the rest of the forwards and try and put pressure centrally against Rodri and Stones, you end up with just huge gaping spaces either side of Fabinho for Gundogan or De Bruyne to be able to exploit, because of how narrow the rest of the Liverpool press has to be. And this was the dilemma throughout the game until much later, when James Milner was brought on to sit in this left centre midfield position, and then they just sacrificed being able to put any pressure on the defence. And moving on, Manchester City are able to eventually, after recycling possession and pulling Liverpool deeper into their half, play a big switch out into De Bruyne in that right back position. Now, as mentioned, we have Henderson looking to try and join this press, and he will come out here to De Bruyne, but he's beaten by De Bruyne's touch. And then from there, we have just a ton of space for Manchester City to be able to exploit, and the rest of the Liverpool defence just have to retreat. This being despite the fact that the Liverpool defenders such as Van Dijk or Konate were trying to press or track Alvarez when he dropped to help play 1-2s with the centre defensive midfield pair. So from there, Gundogan is able to drive at that space between Konate and Trent to force Liverpool back, eventually leading to Grealish receiving the ball on this left-hand side. And he just did this all game, where he drove from the left inside, and on this occasion he's tracked by Harvey Elliott. Later in the game, this role is given to, I'll say, Chamberlain, but every time Liverpool were trying to get their wide midfielders to try and help double up against the wide midfielders of Manchester City and prevent them from getting to 1v1s versus Liverpool's fullbacks. This was just to help the likes of the other centre-backs or CDMs from having to cover the fullbacks so much, creating space at the top of the box. Eventually, Grealish gets the ball into De Bruyne, who tries to play a lofted cross into quite a packed Liverpool box, but it's defended. Unfortunately for Liverpool, De Bruyne is able to counter-press their attempt at the beginning of a counter-attack, and Manchester City are able to win a free kick. Okay, moving on from there, we've got Liverpool trying trying to alternate their press, try and put more pressure higher up the pitch. So here, as I mentioned earlier, we've got Trent pushing up from that right back position. They're trying to put more pressure in that centre of the park against the two CDMs, but City haven't changed their deep lying build-up numbers, but Liverpool have pushed a player higher. So of course there's going to be more numbers in behind for Manchester City if they're able to beat this first level of the press. And so Diaz tries that with an early ball over the top of the press. Fabinho is able to win the header from that long ball by Diaz, but the ball goes back into Ake, easy regain of possession, and then he plays just an absolutely sumptuous ball early into this left-hand space. So whilst Diaz's ball wasn't able to beat the initial part of the press, Ake's ball does, and Liverpool are forced into retreating, and then get to see that switch of play here by Alvarez, who just launches it, taking advantage of Van Dijk trying to be aggressive. This run here by De Bruyne actually is really important because we saw that earlier in the first half as well, where initially he will position in a number 8 position similar to Gundogan, but then if needed he'll drop to a right back position. But then if they're able to progress the ball up this left hand side, he'll try and run into this central space as the rest of the Liverpool defence are pulled across to this right hand side. And on this occasion Alvarez doesn't play him in, but we instead get the ball to Mara's far side. Eventually Manchester City's advantage tells and De Bruyne is able to score from the switch of play. Moving on to the 78th minute, we've got Manchester City still building up with that 3-2 shape, although they now have adjusted Gundogan's position and Stones' position such that they kind of alternate being higher or lower to support Rodri in an attempt to make it even more difficult for Liverpool to be able to put any pressure on these two. By this point, Liverpool have made their subs, so we no longer have Salah trying to stay at the top of a 4-2-3-1 in a counter-pressing position where as Manchester City would build up on the right-hand side, he would keep narrowing from his right-hand side position towards the centre of the park and hopefully try and corral Manchester City into this right-hand side. And then if Liverpool are able to win possession, he's already central for them to play an early through ball. Despite Liverpool making subs to bring on fresh legs, such as Firmino, Darwin Núñez, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Liverpool's press still suffers against all the rotations and quick one-touch passing by Manchester City. In most of the second half, even with the subs, Liverpool simply could not get their foot on the ball. This is one of the few occasions in the 64th minute, 65th minute where they do, and they're set up in this 3-2 or 3-1 shape with Fabinho as the CDM and Henderson having more license to push up given the scoreline. You've got Gakpo still playing between the lines, as well as also Harvey Elliott, with Mo Salah in that more central centre-forward position, as well as also Jota, and then with Robertson pushing very high up, basically playing as a left winger. This against a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4 shape by Manchester City. And so we see Gakpo receive the ball between the lines, and then as he had to do even when Liverpool were building up from deep, he tried to roll through initial pressure and drive beyond it to then try and combine centrally. And so we see that here with him passing into Mo Salah, who's unfortunately intercepted, but he's able to regain possession and play the ball out wide into Robertson, pulls it back, and Salah is able to then lob a ball into the box. Unfortunately, Manchester City are able to defend this, and then immediately Fabinho regains possession, and he also then tries a not so subtle lob from quite deep for Mo Salah to try and get in on, which is also defended and then cleared, eventually leading to a Manchester City counter-attack. Speaking of counter-attacks, I thought it'd be good to just mention Liverpool's forced transitions and counter-attacks. So we've got one here in the 15th minute where they're building up in that 2-4 deep shape with Henderson and Fabinho as the CDMs, and they've got a box midfield, so Harvey Elliott and Gakpo are just higher than them, with Jota and Salah on the shoulder of the back line. And Henderson's able to link up with Gakpo, who tries to roll pressure from Stones, almost gets away, but Stones is able to hook his legs around Gakpo and get the ball, and Manchester City able to win possession, then Liverpool win possession. Eventually Henderson is able to whip a ball into Harvey Elliott on the right hand side in between the lines, and from there they have a counter-attack or forced transition, eventually leading to Mo Salah driving down the right wing, cutting inside and shooting, but it's blocked, and then the follow-up shot is blocked too. And then of course this is Liverpool, so it goes without being said, from a corner kick they look to try and exploit Salah's pace with an early ball by Harvey Elliott, taking advantage of John Stones' slightly wayward defensive header, but Mo Salah's unable to get away from Grealish, who had just an insanely good game and is able to block block Mo Salah's cross for Jota back post. And with that, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like, consider sharing it on social media, maybe subscribing. And with that, we're out.